Welcome to the Vocal Lab podcast with your hosts Shelby Rollins and Jason Catron, bringing you the best from the music industry. Get ready for first-class conversations packed with exclusive techniques and transformative insights, all designed to help you reach your top note. Okay. Hey, Shelby.
Hey, Jason.
How's life today?
Oh, man. Busy.
Carlos is always on me because I'm doing things around this mic I'm not supposed to. I just literally put my hand right over it.
One thing that you do around that mic that we hear on the air is
apparently I slurp.
Yikes.
Which is weird because I don't slurp.
You're welcome.
Like, I'm not a slurper.
You do, apparently.
Well,
Because it's captured.
Yes, it was, and it has been, but I don't slurp in general.
All right.
Have you ever had a friend who, like, probably one of my biggest pet peeves is someone who chews loudly?
Oh, yeah. That's Tanner's biggest pet peeve.
Oh, I thought you were saying
Yeah,
Tanner
and
does
he'll
that.
say, oh, no. He calls it smacking. They're Texas. I
Yeah.
think this is a Texas term.
There's actually a term for, like, there's a scientific term for people who have, like, a severe reaction to that.
Oh, he has it.
Yeah.
He has that condition.
My friend Steven in LA, he a banana. If you eat he will not let you have a banana in his presence because the sound of the smack of a banana, even just biting into it, it's like so like clear to him that someone's. And going to a movie with him, first time I went, after the movie, he's like, dude, I don't think I'm gonna be friends with you. I'm like, why? He's like, you eating popcorn in the movie about drove me crazy. I'm like, everyone in the movie eats popcorn and it's loud. They're just their hands in the bags like
Right.
So
Tanner hates it.
there is a term.
I always just called it chewing with your mouth open. That's what my family always said. But he says smacking. It took me years to figure out that that's what he meant. And he'll always say that that's his what is his number 2 pet peeve is
People that don't listen to our podcast.
that's totally his number 2. Now I think it was something like lying or cheating or something, more moral.
Is that really
And
a
then
pet
I was like,
peeve?
wait,
I
what's
guess it
your
could be.
number 1? He was like, smacking. And I'm like, wow.
Really?
Wow.
Anyway. I don't know what my number 1 would be. I mean, I know it when it happens, but right now I can't think of it.
I don't know. But you know who's number 1 in the studio today?
You.
No.
Carlos.
No.
I'm tricking.
It's our guest.
I know. Excited.
We
Tell
got
it.
Clark Beckham on the show
Hey,
today.
we sure do.
Shucks. Thanks,
Welcome.
guys. Thank you.
What's up, Clark?
We're so excited to have you.
Yeah.
Same. Love being here.
Okay, so if you don't know, it's time that you know who Clark Beckham is.
Absolutely.
So Clark rose to stardom on American Idol about 10 years ago.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Did people really know who you were before American Idol?
No. In fact, most people's story is, all I could get, were bar gigs, and I couldn't even get those. So I was a street performer because I couldn't get
insane. Maybe you think you weren't country enough for this town?
Probably so, but there were some that just wouldn't even give me a chance.
Wow.
And,
Like you were busking downtown on Broadway?
Yes, but like if I could get it, the best spot is 2nd Avenue and Broadway on the northwest corner. There's like a lot of
Specifically
space.
the northwest corner.
That corner of that, yes, is great. Next to the ice cream shop. Most people park on 2nd Avenue, so when they come to Broadway, they're coming right there. You're not close to any bars. A lot of bars or like directly close. A lot of bars have their windows open and they're blaring their band.
Oh, right,
so that
yeah.
destroys that real estate. So that corner, and you've got a lot of space, so you're not in anyone's way. People are excited.
Did you have to like jockey for that space, or did you ever get in a fight?
But just first come, first serve. If it was open,
because I know like
That's
in
where
like
you
Times
go.
Square,
Unwritten
Broadway,
street law of busking.
they're like, I've heard it's like
really,
it's full on warfare.
Sure.
Like if you someone claims a spot and you try to take it, you're gonna.
there are some
That's gonna
like
go down.
unwritten rules.
Sure.
Like it is an unwritten rule, like no amplification. At least now it's been 10 or 11 years since I've done it, so it might be different now.
Yeah, sure.
But no amplification, because if you're on a corner and you have a speaker that you're using, okay, great. Now your sound travels into another potential spot where someone could be performing. Now they can't perform. Now they can't busk.
But it's not illegal to bring out a speaker?
No, but
you're just a jerk if you do.
Like you'll get your like tip jar accidentally knocked over, or like things like that.
What was your biggest day busking money wise?
I think I made $500 one time.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dang,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
I mean, people need to take
Shelby, let's
note.
go
What are they
busk.
doing wasting their time in these like 4-hour gigs on Broadway singing country covers and making half that?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I think it's ego a lot, probably, right?
it could be,
Ego.
but it's
I don't know.
also
Money
like,
talks.
I mean, my first night I made $2. Literally, like $2
Wow.
and like 15 cents.
So it's feast or famine.
Like, well, there's a
it raining?
whole
What was the deal?
craft to it. Well, I was in the wrong location. I was singing the wrong songs, and I wasn't looking at anyone, and I was leaning like against the wall. So just like all these things.
Oh,
Because
sure.
when I went to busk, I was like, all right, let me sing the songs that I love singing, that I have had positive affirmation singing from other people. So, I'm so in love with you. People love that. Not when they're on their way to the bar and you're just this kid leaning against the wall, playing gentle major 7 chords on your guitar, singing, let's stay together. No one cares about that. That's
Yeah.
easy to
Yeah.
ignore.
Right.
Because that's the thing. Everyone doesn't, like, everyone wants to ignore you. The scale of busking is make it impossible to ignore you. And not just impossible, but when it is impossible to be ignored, are they happy that they noticed you? Because you can just like scream at people.
Yeah.
Then they can't ignore you, but they're angry about it. But can you force their attention to you and then have them be pleasantly surprised and really enjoy it and then want to give you money out of their pocket that they're probably going to spend on a bar?
This is like the school of hard knocks for every performer, it feels like.
Well, totally.
Like, the things that you're even saying just now are such incredible lessons for any performer at all, right?
Yeah. It's like everything has to have thought into it.
And
There's a skill
intention.
level,
Yeah.
intention. You got to tweak and learn. It makes me think like
Yeah.
a couple Christmases ago, I got asked to sing at this private club in the Bahamas, just Christmas
Sweet.
stuff. But it was amazing.
That's
And
Carlos is already laughing
what's
at
he
you
laughing about?
because it's like
Why is that funny?
your casual. What
That's
do you
awesome.
call it? Humble brag?
Yeah.
Humble brag.
You're gonna
Oh,
die.
yeah.
You're
Humble
gonna
brag
die.
of the episode.
I left
This is
out
our
that
segment.
You're
This
gonna
is
die.
It's a beach
we've been
and-
trying to figure out what is our segment for
It's
this
a beach
podcast.
and yacht
It's
club.
this. Carry
Yeah,
on.
it's really bougie. It's nice.
Yeah.
And it was the simplest. I mean, it's so simple, right? All I had to do was, and I took a piano player. We had to do was a night in the restaurant for dinner, and then a beach concert at the beach bar. Well, not concert, but like just
Set.
a couple hours on the beach. And then a Christmas concert with dinner in the club. I'm like, this is cake. I've never been more stressed in my life. And I realize how difficult it is to own that craft of just being mood music, right? And because
Yes.
you're creating a mood as people eat dinner. They don't care if you're there or not. I mean, they do, but it's not like they're engaging.
Right.
And me, I just grew up performing like that. I was sweating and I'm like, I suck as a singer. I suck at everything. What am I doing in my
totally.
life? But it gave me great appreciation for people who do that. Because people
Yeah.
look at, I think casually they'll look at someone on the street busking or someone singing at a restaurant, whether they're good or not, and they just kind of like nonchalant, just kind of, pass them off as like, oh, that's cute. Like they think about vocal coaches. That's cute. Sometimes I'll tell someone I'm a vocal coach in a casual setting, and I can see in their eyes like, oh, that's cute. You teach kids. That's what they think, right? But it's not what I do at all. I don't teach any kids. And so I think that's really it's interesting to hear you say that. Like there's such a skill and art form to it because I myself never thought about that.
Yeah, and that's something that I think aspiring musicians need to know. Every environment that you go to sing in is going to be different.
Totally.
And
Yes.
there are, like, if you're trying to pay bills singing, you're probably going to be blessed. And I say that sarcastically and genuinely with background music gigs where you are
Yeah.
not the foreground. You are not the main character
Totally.
of the event.
Yeah.
You are the background. You are the background music. And if you come in, and I've learned this just the hard way. If you come in and you're used to singing and everyone being like, wow, you're awesome. Let's all watch and be quiet and sit like patiently and listen to this person sing. If that's what you're used to, and then you're expecting that, you're going to be deeply, deeply, deeply disappointed. Your ego's going to take a hit.
Totally.
But what you have to realize is you need to, in that moment, you have to know what your role is. Your role is elevated background music.
Yes.
You are the substitute for the iPhone. You are the substitute for Spotify.
Right.
You're right.
So they could do that, but they think it's a little, and it is, it's a little elevated and a little cooler, a little more classy if you have live music.
Totally.
That is your goal. Once you know that going in, dude, I don't care if people are talking the whole time. That's good. You're supposed to be talking. Don't pay attention to me.
Yeah.
I'm just singing whatever.
It's really funny to hear you say that because in that experience, I did it the next Christmas too. Like, so I learned my lesson. But that very first night in the restaurant, I remember I finished the first 45 minutes or something, right? And I looked at my piano guy. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the bar and have a martini. You're going to finish this out. So I did. I went in the bar and I sat there and I had a martini while he finished it out. And I had to like literally check my ego, right?
Yeah.
Everything I know and everything I've experienced and done, coaching people and helping them manage and balance ego, all that stuff, again, popped up in my own like reality. And I had to like, okay, why am I here?
Right.
Exactly what you said.
Yep.
You know?
Right.
That was a really great point that you just made about
And that,
throughout your entire career.
if you can identify your role in the gig you're about to play, your mental health as a musician will be so much better off.
That's good.
Right. Which makes me think too, Shelby, you said it the other day, like one of your favorite quotes from, again, we all connect through Brett Manning. We bring him up on the show a lot.
Yeah.
One of your favorite quotes of him is the singer.
Don't sing the song to showcase sing the song to showcase the song. Don't sing the song to showcase your voice.
Yeah,
Is
which
that the one you're
plays
talking
into
about?
exactly what you're saying, right?
I love that.
I think as an artist, we always need to remember that very thing. We are here
Right.
to serve the song and
Yeah.
the people we're here. It's not about us, even though it at some level is, of course, right? I think you need that healthy dose of ego to bring your best performance forward.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, right?
Maybe. I think it's more like, I think that's like a pious statement of just, it's not about us, the singer, it's about the love of the art and the song and the people there. But really, the goal is really just, how can we get the maximum amount of value out of what we are partaking in, which is music. Why the song is like sacred, it's all about the song, is because the song is packed full of the most magical content that will actually change people's lives, touch their hearts. Because there's a message in there, whether that's portrayed in lyrics and or melody, harmony, other chords, rhythm, all of these things do something to us.
Yeah.
Our voice and our delivery of these musical elements, melody, harmony, rhythm, and lyrics, is just a tool to make the thing. So it's like falling in love with the nail instead of like the actual piece of woodwork, like the cabinet that someone makes. It's like, no, it's not about the nail, it's not about the hammer, it's not about the piece of wood. It's about the furniture, whatever is made, the craft that is the finished product. And so I Can't Make You Love Me hits me really hard.
One of my favorite songs of all time.
It's one of the greatest of all time.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I covered it one time on a recording. Like the first time I ever
Bonnie
went and
Raitt.
recorded anything in a studio was that song.
Really?
Now,
Yeah.
it's the reason it hits is because of the musical elements of that song, and it's the song. So I can offer you a really good like vocal performance, and if you walk away going, wow, that guy's voice is great, I've given you the counterfeit of what music has to offer. Because the true thing that music has to offer
My whole life has been a counterfeit.
is the listener melting into a puddle, right? That's like what music can do at the highest level.
Yeah,
You are
that's
not
good.
capable of that. You in the form of a song, like you really doing the song justice, can do that. So it's not even that we're trying to just say, it's not about us. It's not about us. It's because you're not capable to do the thing. It's almost like when it just reminds me of sermons I've heard in church. Like if you believe that God is the one who's going to transform your life and make your life awesome. Let's say we believe that. If that's true, if I draw you to me at how good I am at singing or how good I am at preaching or whatever, I, as a dude, cannot change your life. God can. So I want to make sure that I'm shining the light to him because I believe he's the one that's actually going to fix everything and give you a great life. I feel the same way about a song. My voice, me doing a run or a rasp, like big belting note, can only do so much. It can impress you and affect your mind, but it'll leave your heart untouched.
Totally.
If I sing Here Comes Goodbye by the Rascal Flatts, and I emote, like, and I really feel and believe that's happening to me, and you can connect to that emotion too and have empathy, that's the goal of music.
Totally.
And that's the reward, not how good you are singing.
Yeah, I said to somebody the other day in a session, I was like, if I am impressed by you, I'm a fan for the night. But if I believe you, I am a fan for life.
Ooh, that's good,
Like,
Shelby.
it's just, it's so much. You know, a lot of worship leaders that I've coached over the years struggle with really crafting their artistry. And they're kind of a bit of like this religious thing, like, I can't, it's not about me, it's not about me. And I'm like, no, well, duh, we know this. It kind of goes without saying, it's not about you. But you can't like dumb yourself down to such a degree that you don't ever work on your voice, you don't ever work on your own art and your own authenticity and your own sound, to the point that now I'm so, like, I can't connect to the song the way that I should because you're not serving the song with your voice the right way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's where I kind of come from with that Brett quote, is like, you sing the song to showcase the song. Like, it's not that you remove yourself and your personality from it at all. It's more that you engage so much deeper with it versus relying on your skill set, relying on just like the tricks and the, you know, like, look at me. I'm either awesome or don't look at me because I'm like really bad or I'm not good enough. I'm kind of unworthy. But like the ability to capture people and connect deeply emotionally with that, like, that's where the magic is. That's why we're here. That's why we go to a show and see somebody perform. Like, I don't want to go and just hear like the carbon copy of the record. I want to see the live version of the song. I want to see the real time connection that artist has, and when I can see them on stage connecting with their song in a way that I can't see when I'm just listening to a stream. Like, that's magical, you know, to see how that translates in the live. So we kind of pivoted away from the busking, but let me come back to that for a second. Is that part of what you were learning on the street corners?
No, it was actually a chain that I had to get free from afterwards. Because busking, no one's there for you. No one cares. No one wants to listen. Almost like background music, but background music when you're playing like at a club or a lounge or a restaurant, you're accepting, like, no one's gonna. That's fine because the check's coming no matter what. Right?
Sure.
Like, I'm going to get paid no matter what, people listen to me or not. Busking, you will not get paid if no one listens to you because they're the ones that are actually going to pay you. So the role of a busker is no one cares about you. No one is there for you. No one comes to downtown Nashville, goes on the strip of Broadway to listen to buskers. No one's there for you. Your job is to force yourself into their line of consciousness.
Wow. And
in order to do that, I don't care how emotional you are about the song, you have to be loud. You have to find people's eyes. Yeah. And you have to do something that's a bit shocking. So when I got to not my $2 a night rate, but my $200 to $300 a night rate, is when I got in a good spot and I would wait for people to come by and I would, hey, how you guys doing? You guys like Marvin Gaye? And then I would start singing Marvin Gaye. Or you guys like Percy Sledge? Wait a minute! And sing at the top of my lungs.
Oh, man.
Right.
Immediately, I've been really trying, baby. And like, try to seduce the person that's coming, whether it's a guy or a girl or like, just saying, hey, how you guys doing? You like Marvin Gaye? And then going for it and keeping eye contact.
Yes.
They're going to at least half the time, which is an amazing batting average for a busker. They're going to at least acknowledge you and laugh and smile. That's huge because most of the time, otherwise, you just get, no one looking at you. So what happened is when I did that for 2 or 3 years, and then I immediately went on American Idol, and then after American Idol, finished all the way to the end, got second place. So afterwards, I had a fan base that I could actually perform to and have shows where people would show up. And I found myself thinking, okay, I gotta sing as many runs, I gotta sing as high as I can, I gotta do as many vocal stunts as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And if there is 5 seconds where there's nothing really vocally impressive, I genuinely believe they were going to leave.
Oh my gosh.
Because that is the reality in busking.
Yeah. That makes sense.
If they are there and they're locked in, keep milking it. Keep milking it. You're getting closer. They're going to reach for their wallet. Maybe. Keep milking it. And if there's 5 seconds, which is a long time as a busker, where you're not wowing them, that's kind of be the time to leave. And I carried that when it was my concert.
Yeah, that's crazy.
How did that impact your idol journey? Do you feel like you were doing that on the show?
That's a great question. Maybe. It really didn't.
Now I want to go back and watch every idol performance. Yeah.
Not as much, because every audition and every performance was 90 seconds or less. And it was one thing, and it was hyper focused, and all the attention was there. You had cameras all over, and it was just one moment.
Yeah.
In a concert, and honestly, an idol, you do a lot of, I don't know, because it was so condensed, I didn't think like, oh no, I'm not doing enough. But in a concert where I have someone for 75 minutes, that's when that insecurity really reared its head at me.
A ton of pressure.
It was, and I was doing terrible concerts. It was exhausting because I was singing, like, for me and for them.
Oh, wow.
Because I thought that's what they needed.
How did you kind of break free, and transition out of that?
I think partly I just realized how bad the concerts were. And then my mom and dad, like people that would always tell me the truth, would just say like, man, I really miss the middle of your range. Like I really miss like sing. And then I would sing something like that. And just white knuckle it. Like don't like so much restraint not to sing a big note or something impressive or a run.
Right.
And then I would get done. I was like, that was the most boring thing ever. And people would be like, that's the best part of the concert.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm doing all of this wrong.
Wow.
And then I found that new like philosophy of music, which is I'm not the reward anyway. Like I'm not, my voice and my ability is, and how I can impress someone of what I can do is the counterfeit of what music really is. Like we were talking about before. And it's the song and the emotional connection that you can connect to. And then I can bring us to this whole cathartic, emotional expression that is the gift of art, that is music.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. Honestly, I just found that out like 2-3 years ago.
Wow.
Like that was something that I would stumble upon here and there. But now it's like full steam ahead. Every performance I do, if I don't hit that, I'm not doing it right.
Yeah, it's a huge learning moment.
Yeah,
I feel like that's got to be such a relief of pressure, and then also like an exchange for so much more joy.
So much more joy, and it helps nerves a lot.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
You watch, Alan Stone is really, really good at this, and you can just see it in his eyes. Like so good. I review American Idol episodes. Like I have a whole YouTube
I've seen these
channel that just reviews every episode, and he's come on as a guest performer. And you get used to watching these contestants who are performing with really high stakes and they're really nervous and then they try to do the best they can. And then you see like Alan Stone or it's like someone come as a guest, like a pro. And the main difference is they're just like so easygoing. Their approach to singing, their approach to performing is so easygoing because they know the pressure isn't on them. It doesn't have to do with them as much as it has to do with the mutual love and respect for the song that they're about to do. And it's like, instead of thinking of it as like, I have to produce this magic for you, it's like, no, the song's already there.
Yeah.
You know, even if you wrote the song, like I've always thought that music is the silliest thing to take credit for, because I think it's the most supernatural, natural thing that we have on earth.
Yeah.
Taking credit or feeling some type of ego connected, to your self-worth because of what you can accomplish musically would be like a hiker taking credit for the view on the top of the mountain.
100%.
Like he didn't, he worked really hard to get there.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
And you didn't make that mountain.
But he didn't make the mountain or the sunset or
really
the trees.
valid.
Like he didn't do any of that.
It's really
Very
profound.
valid, yeah.
And that's all we're doing with music is we're
Love
working
that.
hard to get to the top of the mountain and then showing everyone, look how awesome this thing is. So there's no pressure as the hiker, as the tour guide. It's already there.
Yeah.
When you're the tour guide of the hike,
But you have to do
just
the
lead people
work
there.
to get up to the top. Like the pressure is on you to do the real work of honing your skill and the inner work. I think the
physically
thing that's
fit,
maybe
like all-
undervalued is the inner work of an artist, and I truly think that's where the X factor is. The people talk about like, what is the X factor? You can't teach it. It's more caught than taught. Yes, but truly it's what are you doing on the inside of you to like be a better person, to face your demons, to like work through your ego and all that kind of stuff, so that all that is out of the way. You don't have that obstruction when you show up to a song. You have been able to sort of purge your ego out of that and just show up and serve the song.
That's why I've always thought we should value the older, mature artists more than we do the young that has
they're
no clue who
masters
they
at it,
are,
dude.
right? It's just so flipped around. It's why it's all so messy. It's why music's so chaotic. One of the reasons, like but and that's changed a little bit over the past few years. We have started to see older artists find their moment. Another one, I think to even bring her up, who I keep forgetting to hit her up, is Wendy Moten. Amazing singer in our same little network here, and who was on The Voice.
Yeah.
Like she did all that and got her moment in her 50s on The Voice.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing that, but
That's
it's
just like
not
opening
been
for
that
Vince
way,
Gill. I
right?
mean,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
It's not been that way historically. We find the youngins, push them out there, and it just gets crazy.
Totally.
Right?
yeah, and then they find it in their 30s or 40s.
Totally.
Like you take singers in their 20s and singers in their 30s and 40s. They're the 30s and 40s crowd and above always, like, if there was a test trial, 10 performers, 30s and 40s singing a song, and 20s, 10 performers. And the goal is to like sing a sad song that's going to make everybody cry. 9 out of 10 performances are going to cry, maybe one.
yes.
And
it's
it's absolutely.
And it's
really
not
true.
I don't think, and it could be part of this. Most people would be like, yeah, that's right, because I'm older. We've lived life. They're too young. They don't understand that. Nah. I had my heart destroyed when I was 12 years old. And the girl that I like said, I don't like you. I was a wreck.
You
right?
were 12?
Sure.
My daughter's 12.
It hurts. We have this dumb, in my opinion, dumb mentality as adults that are like, oh, kids don't understand heartbreak or complex emotional issues.
No.
No. They have a different reference point.
Right.
So we might think, oh yeah, have you ever, had your house foreclosed on, or have you ever been evicted? And what about your family? My stress is way more intense.
Right.
Okay, your reason for stress might be more valid, but the emotion that is felt
Is
in a
the same.
12-year-old who like didn't know it was picture day at school,
Right.
versus it's the same feeling.
Yeah, pain has no age reference point. Pain is pain, and so it's like if it's a deep wound for you at that age, but you never deal with it and heal from it, it'll still you basically are stunted at that age for the rest of your life until you address it.
Right.
Like you're walking around as like a 12-year-old until you work on that.
So I don't think the problem or the reason that older singers can emote better than younger is because of an emotional maturity. I actually think it's because it's taken them that long to realize that that's the goal, is to emote and to connect to the song.
Yeah.
And when we're younger, we don't realize that. We think it's how good am I?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Love this.
Yeah,
I think I keep saying that, and it's like my tick now. The word totally. We should do like a little count.
A totally count.
Totally count.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Thanks, Carlos. Carlos will do that.
Totally.
For me. Totally. Yeah. Okay, so you come back from Idol, and this was 10 years ago, you said, right?
Yep.
That you were on the show. And you start performing, and have your own kind of reckoning over the course of the last decade of being a performer. What's kind of taken place? Give us sort of, I guess, the high level overview of the last 10 years. And yes, I'm gonna save another question for later. But
Okay.
so like, what is, kind of that journey been
Okay.
in sort of double time?
So the quick 10-year review.
Yeah.
I get off Idol, and when you're on a show like that, and you have a ton of press, and when I was on Idol, one person got cut every week from top 12. So we were on TV for months and months and months and months, long seasons. Now it's really quick.
Yeah.
So you think that, and you have a lot of time where you're just living in LA, doing all these fancy things. You think you're going to walk off and step straight into stardom. You really believe that because it feels that way.
Right.
And you're kind of,
Sure.
for the television program, that's kind of the language they use. Like, oh, you're going to be a superstar.
They're pumping your tires.
Totally. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to be a superstar. And then you walk off the show, and instead of stepping off into your stardom laced career, you really step, and then you realize that you are on top of a mountain that is American Idol, of that brand and everything that's been built. And you step off the ledge. And it's kind of like a baby bird that's pushed off out of the nest. It's like, all right, are you going to fall all the way down?
Yeah.
Or are you going to, on the way down, or I wouldn't say on the way down, but off that ledge, are you going to learn how to fly and try to flap your wings as hard as you can to figure it out? Mm-hmm. And that's absolutely how I felt. No one, I remember such an, to showcase, or it was a great example of my ignorance of this exact thing. When I got off, I sent a list of major record labels that I would like to sign with to the manager of 19 Entertainment, who, if you are signed after American Idol, you're signed to them. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, hey, Jason, so I've been researching, I want to like throw up as I even talk right now. Retelling this, I've been researching major labels, and I think Capitol would be best for me, and I thought about RCA, but I don't know, maybe Universal, but and then he's like, I think his reply was one sentence. He's like, hey, reached out, no one's interested. And I was like,
dang, you were 12 years
what do you
old
mean?
all over again.
Yeah. And I was like, but Jennifer Lopez said I was going to be a star like a week ago. Like all the press interviews, like they all say we're going to be superstars. So why wouldn't they? And my parents are saying I'm going to be a superstar. All my friends are saying, why? What do you mean no records are are interested? No labels are interested. And the reality is, for the entire existence of American Idol, they produce, let's say just the top 12, they produce 12 people who have sang covers, mainly, and have gotten really good at singing those covers and have had a beautiful platform called American Idol lift them up into TV show fame, who they leave the show and they think they're superstars and they think they can be this big star and have a career in music. And they expect you to sign them, and then all of a sudden you realize most of their fan base are people who don't go to shows. They watch TV at night. They don't get up off their couch. They don't consumers for a musician to pay bills versus consumers who watch American Idol are different avatars. They're different people. And some will come out, but it's completely different. And they've had 10 years, 15, 20 years of watching American Idol contestants or The Voice or America's Got Talent come off the show and then not have a career. So why am I going to sign you? You're just another one of those. And my season was one of the least watched seasons of all time.
Really?
Yeah. So why would, let alone Capitol Records, but why would any record label be interested? So that was a rude awakening for me. And I realized, like, oh, okay, just going to have to do this one on my own. So I had a website, clarkbeckham.com, and I made booking at clarkbeckham.com and made it sound like it was an agent, but it was just me. And so I started booking all my own stuff and things would come in. I had no idea what I was doing. I was terrible with money. I was very independent, so I liked traveling by myself and figuring things out, and I'm a big nerd, so I like learning new things, and that worked out for me. And then 3 years down the road, through a couple of wild wonderful things that happened. I was signed to Quincy Jones Productions. It was Quincy Jones Management, like company, and was with like Jacob Collier and Jonah Nilsson from Dirty Loops and like that crew was signed under that in that roster. Was with Quincy for 3 years, and then I just been doing the independent thing, and starting to teach when COVID happened. You were forced to teach or.
Oh, everybody became a vocal coach during
Figured
COVID.
that one out.
Yep.
And me included, and piano and guitar and theory and anything that I could teach that people would pay me for, I would just teach.
Sure.
And that's formed now into, I'm the Dean of Music at Candid Christian College, this real small Christian college in Ontario. And I have been teaching, continue to teach on Zoom since 2020, so for 5 years now. And I'm starting to teach music theory at the college level in different areas and kind of revolutionizing is too intensive a word. Reforming, perhaps, changing the way that music theory is taught.
Love that.
And so anyway, that's been my 10-year journey wrapped up.
So yeah, the other question that kind of leads me into it is that I was saying I had for later, had to do more with your music theory expertise. And like, do you know that Clark, his Instagram bio, do you know what it is?
I do.
What it says? It just says one thing. It says, Jesus loves the flat five. And I love that. I'm like, what? I want to know, one, where that came from, but also it just speaks to all of the music theory stuff. And so did you grow up learning all of that? Like, where did you become the guy who can play what you can play? And you do it on Instagram all the time. And it's just, I mean, people are just kind of like, when they watch your stuff. Because like, how does that work in your brain? So talk about that.
Yeah, so Jesus loves the flat five. When I went to college, I went to Lee University.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And it's a music school. They're known for their music, but I studied history. And that's what my degree is in. Yeah, it's history.
Not music.
No.
Okay.
Didn't study music.
Right. I didn't know anybody went to
college.
Lee to not to study music.
I know.
Yeah.
But funny enough, most of the greatest musicians that come out of Lee have like telecommunications majors and nursing degrees and history degrees or whatever, or they just drop out. And I was surrounded by all these incredible musicians who were either crazy church gospel chop players or studying jazz musicians in the music program. So because I'm a nerd and I want to understand things, when I would hear something really cool, like a really cool chord, typically you have two choices. You can be intimidated by it and be like, whoa, cool, bro. Is it that like a 9 or something? That's wild. Or you can go and show that you don't know what's happening and say, what was that? Can you show me that? What was that? And then the next level is they'll say, oh, it's just a dominant sharp 11. The next thing is, again, now you're at the crossroads again. You could go, oh, cool. Totally. Sharp of that. Yep. You could do that and fake because you're scared to admit you don't know. Or you could go, cool, what is that? I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And some people, and you'll run into it because some people will, to make themselves feel cool, they will on purpose talk over your head just to be like, wow, like I'm so much smarter than you. Look how smart you don't know what this is. You know what this is. And you can either just be like, yeah, bro, I don't know what anything is. You're so smart. I would love to know. Like, I know nothing. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, what was that chord? What's a sharp 11? Whatever you just said, what is it? And they'll either, like, you have to chase down that path and then they'll tell you. But most of the time, they're like, oh, sorry, yeah, totally. So have you heard of this? No? Oh, that's cool. Great. Do this. And they're great teachers and they really want to help you learn. So I did 4 years of that. Wow. Of just, what's that? What's it called? Why is that? And once I learned what that is, why it fits there, the next time I had that question, I had some terminology that I could grab onto.
It reminds me of my 9-year-old son, who this is his whole orbit, is like, what's that? Why? How do you, and he'll ask me the most like profound questions always at bedtime where I'm like so tired. And I'm like, he asks me, I don't know, these deep theological questions. I'm like, I don't know. let's pray about that. I don't know what the answer, but he's just that is his mind. He's always, he's curious.
Yeah.
And it's just maintaining, I think, curiosity about the world, which requires this deep measure of humility and ability, like your teachability, right? Versus kind of like the saving face of like, oh yeah, cool. I know the sharp 11. I didn't know you could have an 11.
Yeah.
I don't know.
See?
I thought it ended after like 9. I thought we were kind of done.
It goes all the way to 13.
I mean, this has gotten so deep. I'm thinking about vacation in 2 weeks. But no, to your point,
you're back in the Bahamas.
I know, I'm back in the Bahamas.
So you did that for 4 years.
That's crazy.
At Lee.
Yeah, and what is key is, in order for you to dive into the depths and complexities of music, where it sounds good and it's not just complexity for complexity's sake, is you have to explore what you really like. So it's not that I can play a sharp 11, it's that I know when to play a sharp 11 that feels really good to me.
Yeah.
And if it feels really good to me, it's going to feel really good to a lot of people.
Right.
That's the key, not just, look, a sharp 11, that's, who cares?
Sure.
So when I was...
That's so good.
Jesus loves a flat 5. This is what happened. I'm in this music ensemble, like worship leading thing, and there are 8 of us, 10 of us. 6 of us on stage at once, and then 4 for like each part that are basically subs. So we're singing for a whole, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hour worship thing, and then we'll trade, like, okay, my voice is a little rough, let's get Ashton to come up here and take my spot, and we'd go back and forth like that. So there's one song that we were singing that had this really pretty tag that just kept repeating, and I kept hearing this flat 5 harmony that was super, super clashy and dissonant, but it was gorgeous, and it was just speaking to me so much, and it was weird, but it was so nice. And we were in rehearsal, and I was like, hey, can I sing this note? And then we did it again, and I showed him, and I sang that flat 5, and it's a half step clash, like with another note, like it is crunchy. And a lot of people are like, and I'm like, no, it's so nice, like, can I sing? And then I'd sing it again, and then everyone was okay with it, but it was weird. It was kind of like, there goes Clark again with his weird notes that he likes to sing. I was like, can I? He's like, if you're singing it and you're up there, like, yes, you can sing that weird harmony, fine, sure, whatever. And then we were singing at a church, and we were doing that song, and that part came up, and I was in the congregation. I had switched with singer. I wasn't on stage, and I was like, dang it, I wanted to sing that note, right? That harmony.
Yeah.
And not, so it's not going to be sung because I'm here in the aisles. And the part came, and I heard that flat 5 crunchy harmony. I was like, oh, someone did it. I was so proud. I was like, oh my gosh, somebody picked up what I was putting down, and they liked it too, and now they're singing it even when I'm here. So afterwards I was like, who sang it? Who did it? Which one of you sang the flat 5? And every single person was like, I heard it too. I thought it was you. Who? I don't know. I didn't do it. It was probably so-and-so. Went to that person. No, literally no one sang it. And they all said the thing that I kind of thought, but they confirmed. All of them were like, I couldn't sing that if I wanted to, because it's such a weird, like, I couldn't even find that note.
Yeah.
Couldn't find if my life depended on it. None of us sang it, but we all heard it. And I heard it too. And so I decided in that moment, I was like, was that just, and I know it sounds woo-woo, but was that just God going like, I agree, it needs that. Let me just, I'll sing Clark, I got it. Or, let me, Gabriel, can you go sing the dissonant part? And God almost like a painter looking at a painting is like, it's missing this. And that thing was something that I love, that was complex, not in gospel, not in CCM, but just more of a jazz note that I really enjoyed, that I felt like, oh, that's just the thing that Clark likes. And I felt in that moment, God himself agreed with me and was like, no, I like that too. So Jesus loves the flat five.
That's all. I love
That's
this.
amazing.
That is an amazing
Yeah, that
story.
was a great story.
And I've actually had a moment like that in a worship leading experience where some audio kind of sound was going on, and we were all like, where is that sound coming from? And nobody knew. And it was like this wild moment in worship. But it just speaks to, I think, identity and like how you're wired and how important it is for you to still like voice, literally and figuratively, voice yourself in a moment and show your own kind of brand of artistry and the things that you're uniquely gifted with that matter, you know. And that to me seems like such an affirmation and confirmation of who you are, for you to not even be the one up there performing it, you know, because it could have been like, yeah, that was a cool moment, right? When I sang the flat five and everybody like, yeah, okay, Clark. But when you still heard it and you had nothing to do with it at all, to be like, wow, that's cool. God made me like this. I love that.
Yes, God made me like this, and this is my musical preferences. And those musical preferences that is the only thing we can take. Maybe we can't even take credit for that. But when we were talking about you can't take credit for music, the only thing you can take credit for is liking something. Because in order to be a good arranger, the only thing you have to do is like something. Like, oh, I would really like if this chord was there.
Yeah.
That's all that you're doing when you're being creative, is you're just coming up with something that you like.
Yeah.
And if you approach music in a way that doesn't have any involvement with what you like or what you enjoy, it's more like do the right thing, you're probably going to be a bad arranger or a bad musician.
Yeah.
If you're not in touch with what you really love and what God made you to really love.
Yeah.
And be that. I remember I had this breakthrough moment as a worship leader when I kept feeling that I had to fit the current like worship leader guy vibe of like the Cody Carnes or the Brandon Lake or the whoever. I had to be like that guy. And exactly. Well, that was more like
shopping at the buckle.
Yeah.
The buckle.
And I wasn't doing well when I would leave worship because I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
And then finally, there's this moment where the pastor's like, hey, it was actually at Candid Christian College. We're doing this worship night. And the pastor's like, hey, can you just sing Oh, How He Loves Us on guitar, like just you and guitar, and then sing like just a couple more songs about the love of God. So just you for like 15 minutes, like do whatever you want. I was like, yeah, sure. And so I didn't have a click in my ear. I didn't have a guide. I didn't have anyone like yelling at me, telling me what to do. I didn't have like a song or an arrangement that someone else made that I was trying to replicate. It was just do whatever you want, you and guitar. And I let myself just fall into these preferences that I have, loves that I have is a better word for it. These chord progressions that I really love or feel in that moment. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm being connected to the muse, right? Capital M, like to what God can do and the Holy Spirit can do through his creation, which is music. And then after that, I was like, well, I'm never going back. Every time I lead worship, I'm just going to do what God has called me to do authentically through my passions and what he's made me really love and enjoy musically. And I remember thinking, I'm just going to do that until they kick me out. And like ever since then, like my connection with the moment in worship has been completely different. And I've really stepped into my like worship leader like role and calling. And it was just saying like, I'm not going to try to be anything. I'm going to be exactly me. And if they're not into it, like, that's fine. I don't really need this platform anyway. Like, they can just kick me out. Wow. And it just unlocked a whole new world.
That is so good.
It's free.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, let yourself, like, don't let anyone else have power over you. Like, I'm just going to do exactly what I want to do.
Well, what I think is interesting that artists forget is that we, as consumers, as the audience, we're not expecting you to be anything other than you. Like, I don't come into anybody's show and expect me to hear someone else. I'm expecting to see who's on the bill. Like, I came to see this person, and so I don't need them to be like that person. And seasoned veteran performers can still fall prey to any comparison, to any of that. But especially, I think, artists who are younger and don't have as much artistic identity yet, they haven't really figured out who they are vocally, artistically, and all that. And so they're just sort of like, well, that person's popular and people like them, so I'm going to borrow some of that. I'm going to put that armor on and see if it works and fits, and it never does. But I'm not going to any no-name artist performance. Like, say I just see somebody in a lineup on a writer's round. I have no expectation when I see anybody for that person to be anything other than who they already are. And why it's so important. We joke about how we named this podcast wrong. Like, we should have named it something with the word authentic in it, because it comes up all the time. Like, every episode, something about authenticity, and how it's one of those life lessons that performers get, and the guests that we bring in, they get it. Whether they're artists or they're like industry executives, because we've interviewed plenty of, I remember when we interviewed Taylor Lindsay from the CEO of Sony, and she was talking about authenticity matters. This is what we're trying to sign. Like, that's the kind of thing that we want. And it comes up over and over and over again. And I wish that was something that you could really kind of convince something. It reminds me of things that I try to teach my kids, is like, especially my daughter, who's a girl, and she's kind of gotten that, like, who am I? Like, am I liked? Am I pretty enough? Am I this enough? And it's like common girl struggles of just going like, yeah, you are. And if I could shake anything into my kids, it's identity, like who you are. You don't have to be anything else. And because so much of where we sort of fall, into these ditches in life is not knowing who we are, and we act outside of our identity. And we get off track. But I think that it's one of those things that you can't learn from somebody else just telling you. You have to learn it through some of the hard knock experiences, from like the highs, the lows, and all of that. What would you say if you were to talk to your younger self who had no idea what you were doing, maybe when you came right off Vital and you were singing too much, doing too much? What would you kind of tell your younger self, sorry, not older self. We're not there yet.
A couple of things. I've thought about this. I would say, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Read The War of Art.
That's a good one.
And 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I think I would have 10 times the career that I have right now.
Wow.
If I just read those 3 books. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Read those books. And specifically to the point of what would I tell the younger self that was really just trying to see, like, all I was doing was look what I can do performing. That was it. I would try to, because I could tell myself, but like you said, you can't just be told. You have to be convinced that I'd probably point to all the performances that changed my life, and would point out like they are believing the song and what they're going. They sound like they're going through what they're singing about.
Yeah.
So the goal is to, if I'm singing a sad song, my goal is for you to go, we need to check on him. Like, is he okay?
Yeah.
Like, this is beyond the song. Like, so I can tell something's going on in his life. And nothing's going on in my life.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it right,
That was actually, I remember Brett told me this one time. I remember playing, I've probably told this story. I was playing a song I had written in a session with him. And it, at that point, was like my favorite song I'd ever written. It was a sad song. And it was like, I was so proud of it. I was like, this got such a good hook. And so I'm playing it on the guitar. And he stops me kind of halfway or whatever. And very nicely, these are not his words. This is my paraphrase. He basically says, I don't believe you. And I was like, wait, what? I lived this. I believe me. Like, I believe it, what I'm singing. And it took me years to really understand what he meant by this. But his advice to me was to go home and like cry about it. And it was about an old relationship, and I was in a new relationship with the guy I ultimately married. And it was like, I don't want to go home and cry about an old relationship. I'm like happy now, like I don't want to go relive drama and stuff. Like, that feels like not what I want to do. And I feel like what I had to figure out myself was it's one thing to internalize my own connection to a song, but externalizing my connection to the audience is a whole nother matter and takes a lot of vulnerability to be able to do. But what do you feel like when you're having to, how do you feel like you're not faking it to emote so genuinely, but in real life, real time, you're not broken up about that, but you're still connected to the moment when you were.
Yeah,
How do you do that?
It's the exact same muscle as a really good actor. It's the exact same thing. I've been taking like film acting classes for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it's the same thing. So it's remembering, even if you don't believe it, like even if it's not the current reality, it could be. And you're familiar with what that's like. And it's visiting that place again. If you can connect to it easily, hooray, you don't have to do any extra work. But let's say it's the song Go the Distance from Hercules. Okay, I personally, in my life, cannot relate to the life experience of the fictional character Hercules, who wants to visit his dad Zeus on Mount Olympus. I cannot relate to that. I have not experienced that. So then I started experimenting. I was like, okay, well, how can I make it relate to me? What if Go the Distance is about, like, I'm singing it as like my career, like what I'm made to do. Like that's the distance. And then I sang it and I was like, no, it doesn't make me feel much. Like I can relate to it. It's authentic, I guess, but I'm not feeling much. And I was like, what if the distance was heaven? Like actually making it to heaven. I was like, that seems too specific. Maybe the lyrics won't even work for this. And then I started singing, I have often dreamed of a far off place. That checks out. Where a hero's welcome would be waiting for me. Instant tears.
Oh, wow.
Because that's what we're told, right? Happens. Like you enter and there's a party going on in heaven and God's waiting for you and the angel's like, oh my gosh, you're here, you've done it. And I was like, oof, where the crowds will cheer when they see my face. Get emotional right now. Yeah. And a voice keeps saying, this is where I'm meant to be.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'll be there someday. I can go the distance. I will find my way if I can be strong. And I know every mile will be worth my while. When I go the distance, I'll be right where I belong. Now I'm in tears.
Yeah.
And I guarantee when I think of that
Wow.
and when I'm singing, that performance is a hell of a lot different than when I'm thinking, let me sing this note really well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the goal. Because when you reach that, also the arrangement gets better. You'll pause for a bar where you didn't think you would.
Yes.
Yeah.
You might search for a different chord. You might sing something different. You might not do the run that you thought you needed to. You might not sing the high note because you don't care about the high note. You don't care about what you can do. You just care about authentically connecting to the idea of finally making it to where you belong, which is in heaven with God.
Wow.
Boom. That's what music's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that's what moves the people. In that
That's what
moment.
changes hearts.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's
It
why
is.
we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Is that.
Yes.
And we're caught up in the science of how to do good. Because I would sing that song authentically connecting, tears coming down my eyes. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, that's the greatest thing ever. And then someone would watch that video and go, all right, how do we do this? You hear the rasp here, you hear his tone here, you hear his technique here, you hear how he had a bar, and then they'll make it like a science, and then they'll teach it. And then someone, instead of thinking about heaven or whatever they're connected to emotionally, will think about the technique.
Right.
It's like, no.
It's
And yet,
why
you're a
teach-
master of technique too.
Yeah. Yes.
And the theory and the science of the music.
As a tool to get
Exactly. That's the
Yes.
thing. It's,
not even to get there, but to enjoy. It goes back to the hiker. Think of him as a tour guide. Like in order to be a really good tour guide of the Grand Canyon, you have to have two things. You have to have physical fitness, so that's your technique, and you have to love the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And that physical fitness will allow you to explore more of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
That's what our voices are.
That's
The
so
Yeah.
better
And you've had
technique
to
we have.
explore and experience it.
yeah.
Yeah, dude.
well,
and the more
right?
chords I
Deep
learn,
knowledge of the Grand
Yes.
Canyon because
Yeah.
you've seen it all. Yeah.
This
Exactly.
is
Yes.
all back to why
So freaking good.
consistently, whatever you're doing, whatever your discipline, have a coach, have a mentor, experience, explore, experiment, all that stuff wrapped into this, right?
Yes.
And I coach all the time. What you're saying emotionally, yes, but also there has to be some deep connection to the spiritual. Whatever your worldview or life expression of that is, I think you just have to have it. It's one of the big reasons why music to me right now is just most popular music is just crap, because there's not a deep connection to the spiritual in a lot of instances. I know that's a huge generalization, but we're also living in a time where, a lot of young artists didn't grow up going to church, singing in choirs and in worship teams and connecting in some way to the deep spiritual side of themselves. Yeah. And they're out here just churning out songs every day. Again, it all of this has to be addressed in your creative process and in your life expression of what you are doing and how you want that to be portrayed to the world, which on the other side of that too, to everything you've said today, is helping you find your truest authentic self. And as you sing something you love to sing, right? What you did there was just a master class in
for sure
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's just casually sitting in a chair, not worrying about fine tuning anything or making this a performance, or you literally connected to the expressive emotional side of those lyrics. And it moved all of us, and people listening would be moved by that.
For sure.
And I think it's brilliant. From your days of busking to, now being a dean, it's really cool to hear yourself today, or hear what you've said today.
Yeah.
For sure. Thanks. Yourself. But it's really cool. And I have a story that I meant to say earlier. I don't want this thing to end before I tell it. Carlos is ready.
Tell us your story.
You all have to know. Did you all ever know the guy who busked? That's hard to say. Say busked.
Busked.
Yeah, it's
it is
tough. He was a busker in front of the old spaghetti factory. I'm talking like this was like before I went to LA.
It was like his spot.
Yeah, he always sat there. Big, huge black dude. Like really big. Like you're like, how's this dude even walk? He have a guitar. And I mean the guitar would like sit up on him, right? He'd just sit there. And he was just always there, and I thought he was homeless. I think everyone did. I forget, he had a name. I mean, of course he had a name.
Sure.
No, I mean he had like a character name like Big something.
Okay,
like
Big Al
Kenny
or
or Big Al, something like that, right?
Yeah.
But
His artist name.
if you gave him money when you walked up and down second, he would sing a song for you. You'd tell him a song, he may or may not sing it. But he had one song that he always sang. It was amazing. You don't know this guy?
No.
He would start singing. He was like a blues guy, blues jazz guy. He'd be like, "My baby got a big old butt."
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
And then, of course, that drew people in right away. And he was so animated. And half the song, he'd be like, he'd spit on you. Like, he would just spit so much.
Oh my.
And I won't say what he would say at the end of the song, because that's when people would really give him the money. But it was very vulgar.
You got to capture
You all don't know this guy?
That's
I think I've
the
heard of
shocking
him.
thing
The
that
whole
you're talking
point,
about.
the whole point to that, too, was I always thought, and you give him money because the guy just looked homeless. And you're like, oh, we're going to help him. This is like a poor guy. Or they bring him food.
Oh my God.
One day I was down on second and no one was there. And I just saw him get up, set his guitar down. He kind of like waddled over and got in this brand new like Econo van that's like probably like a $60,000 van. Just opened the door, got in there and sat down and took a break. I'm like, he making some money down here.
Nice.
I was proud of him after that.
That's hilarious.
Proud of him always.
You can do it. It's tough work, but you can do it.
Oh my gosh. So Clark, what's next for you? What are you excited about coming down the pipe?
I am really diving deep into teaching courses and classes. So there's this really, really cool niche of colleges that are inside of churches. So church that also has like a college that's affiliated with Southeastern or wherever.
Yeah.
And I've really fallen in love with doing workshops for those students.
Cool.
For like church worship teams too, to sharpen these tools so that we can explore the depths of the Grand Canyon, right?
Yeah.
And I've already got like online courses about singing runs, vocal foundations, just things that a lot of singers don't know until they're told that make a world of difference.
Right.
And then music theory, like kind of demystifying the sharp 11 chord. So we know what it is and we can use it and things like that. I'm really going forward into that and teaching more at the college level and really diving into music theory to teach it well, which is so exciting because you think you know something until you have to teach it.
Right.
And then it's like, I better really know this thing.
Really know.
Yeah.
So I've just been being a big old music nerd lately, and I'm starting to churn out like courses online and teaching in person and
cool.
traveling to do that.
That's really cool.
Fun.
You still performing a lot?
Yeah. I'd say it's about 50-50, like educator and performer, which is
it's the
really
best place
fulfilling.
to be.
Yeah,
it's the best place to be.
Yeah.
It's very fulfilling.
Yeah.
That's
really
awesome.
great.
Man. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
This has been
such
great.
a good conversation.
Yeah,
I love
really
it.
great.
So many good nuggets
We'll have you
in
back.
there. Plus,
Please.
you sang for us, and that was also
know,
really
right?
good. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a little bit of the performance in there too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Great.
unexpected.
So, thanks so much, Clark.
Totally. Thanks for having me.
We can find you on all the socials, right?
Yeah, I'm Clark Beckham.
We'll
on
have them
everything.
posted.
At Clark Beckham. We'll tag you.
Yep.
But awesome. This has been great.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vocal Lab podcast. Ready to join the top ranks of the music industry? Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more first-class conversations that make the extraordinary your new ordinary. Until next time, keep striving for your top note.